another day of living alone in lockdown. I can't believe lockdown was extended again for another 2 weeks yesterday. Or maybe it was 2 days ago. 3 days ago? I don't know, it's all starting to feel the same. I can't even remember the last day I saw another human being in real life. It's been really lonely. Will this feeling last forever? Maybe life's just meant to be lonely. Maybe we're all just meant to be alone. No, you know what? This is ridiculous. I'll just reach out to this person. Nah, actually, I don't want to bother them. They're probably busy. What about this person? Oh, but didn't I reach out to them a few days ago? Oh, yeah, it looks like I did, but they didn't respond. Ouch. I feel so ignored. Or maybe I'm ignoring myself. Okay, no, you know what? Enough ruminating. Let's channel this feeling into a video and share it with strangers on the internet. Yes, that seems like a good idea. All right. Yes, this is a video on how we can deal with loneliness in lockdown, and as much as I wish it was as easy as getting a dog that would love you unconditionally, I've realized it's a little bit more complicated than that. So lately I've been feeling pretty lonely, and no, I don't mean that in a sad way. This is not meant to be a sad video. We're just chilling, having some tea. I'm gonna share some of my insights on loneliness and how I've been dealing with it in lockdown, in the hopes that if you've been feeling that way too, that you might find this helpful. And I have a feeling that for a lot of us, these have been some of the loneliest times in our lives. Like, I thought that loneliness and I knew each other pretty well before this, but wow, we have taken our relationships to the next level in the past year. And something important I realized recently is that I was embarrassed to admit that I was lonely, not only to other people, but also myself. And that made me realize that there are probably a lot of other people out there that are also afraid to admit that they're lonely, as if it's something to be so ashamed of, as if no respectable person could ever feel that way. Loneliness is kind of a taboo topic, and this stigma around it makes the feeling so much worse because you feel like you can't talk about it, and you feel like if you were to tell somebody that you were feeling lonely, that they're gonna think that there's something wrong with you, and they're gonna think that it's really off-putting. And one of the worst parts is that you feel like you're the only person in the world that feels that way. But guess what? If you are a human being on this planet, you will feel lonely sometimes, and I'm sure there are lots of other people out there that also feel this way but are too afraid to talk about it. But when you are in that lonely state, it's really hard to remind yourself that you're not alone. And there are a lot of other things about loneliness that make it really complex, and one of those things is that loneliness doesn't go away by just simply being around other people. In fact, there have been times where I have been around a lot of people and yet felt lonely, and there have been times where I have spent multiple days alone, not seeing a single soul, lockdown, and I have felt perfectly content. So if loneliness isn't just the state of being alone or having no one to hang out with, what is it then? Loneliness is an emotion, it's a feeling, and it's a hard feeling to describe. It's not exactly sadness, not exactly fear. It kind of feels like this gaping hole in your center, and you don't know what's supposed to fill it or how you can even fill it. But in this past year, in these social distancing times, especially as someone that lives alone, I have been forced to find ways to fill that hole, and I have found some ways that really work for me, and I'm going to share them with you in the hopes that they might work for you too. First, I learned to not ignore loneliness. A lot of us, including myself, have this tendency to be like,
oh, I'll just ignore this feeling, I'll just push it down, it'll eventually go away.
And in my experience, that has never worked. In fact, it has only ever made things worse. The more you ignore loneliness, the stronger it gets, and the more you want to isolate yourself. And that can quickly become a vicious cycle, my friend. And loneliness isn't something that we can successfully ignore, because that is a signal from our body saying that we are missing connection. And that's a really important message for us to hear, because by recognizing that something is missing, we can then do something about it. So next time you're feeling lonely and you feel like you want to push it down, please remember that there is nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. You are not crazy. It simply means that you are a human being with unmet needs for connection. This feeling makes sense, and it can actually be a healthy and productive feeling because it can motivate us to then take action to get those needs for connection met. Which is the next thing I learned, and that is to take small steps. So now that we've given permission to ourselves to feel what we feel, we can now use that feeling to fuel our actions to get our social needs met. And really, it doesn't take that much to go from feeling lonely to feeling connected. You don't need to go out there and make a whole new group of 20 friends. All it really takes is a short, positive interaction with someone, and I usually start in my closest inner circle, and sometimes I realize that some of those people I haven't talked to in a few days or a few weeks, and reaching out to them and seeing how they're doing can make the world of a difference. Or even just saying hi and making eye contact with someone in the elevator or someone that you pass on the street, or asking a cashier how their day is going. All of these interactions are seconds to minutes long, but when you're feeling lonely, they can really shift how you feel. And the next thing I realized we need to overcome loneliness is to get past the small talk and open up. There are very few things in this world that make me feel lonelier than small talk. I can enjoy it for a little while, but if we're staying too long on surface level topics like what show you've been binging or your favorite Italian restaurants in the city, I'm gonna start to feel worse because I'm gonna start to feel like I am trying to have a connection, but I can't have it. I need to meaningfully connect. We need to meaningfully connect. And in order to make a meaningful connection with someone, we need to get vulnerable, which I know, the absolute worst. But we need to open up and allow people to get to know the real us if we want to beat loneliness. Because when we open up to someone, that makes them feel more connected to us, which makes them feel more comfortable opening up to us. And who knows, maybe that person has also been feeling lonely, and by you talking about it first, that makes them feel relieved. Like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one in the world that feels this way. And then you guys can bond over this moment of vulnerability, and it's just so beautiful. And I know it can be really hard to open up to other people. We're afraid that if we were to show the real us to other people, that they're gonna see our weaknesses and they're not gonna like it, so we close ourselves off. But really, that real part of us is the part that other people are going to be most attracted to. And if we conceal that real part of us by staying on surface level small talk, then we're not connecting with other people anyways, because they're not seeing and connecting with the real us. So in that way, we're kind of perpetuating our own loneliness. And I just want to clarify, when I say open up to someone, I don't mean bare your entire soul and tell your whole life story. Let's start with something smaller and more recent. So maybe you want to share that honestly 2021 has been pretty rough because it feels like 2020 2.0 and you're starting to lose hope, because that's like everyone, and I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate that honesty and vulnerability right now. And actually, I've been able to make some new connections and deepen existing relationships over the past year, which I didn't think would be possible with social distancing, but real chats have made it possible. So next time you hear that anxious voice in your head warning you to hide the real you, know that that voice is lying to you, and you're gonna have to open up to other people if you want to make a meaningful connection with someone. And you know what? If you do open up to someone and it doesn't go as expected, or that person doesn't react well, good. That means that that's someone that you wouldn't be interested in having a connection with anyways. And that's actually the next thing I learned, which is that overcoming loneliness isn't as easy as going out there and finding some company. It needs to be the right company. And I think this quote by Johann Hari from his book Lost Connections describes this perfectly. To end loneliness, you need other people, plus something else. You also need to feel like you are sharing something with the other person that is meaningful to both of you. So before you go out and try to cure your loneliness by just interacting with more people, remember that it's not about increasing the amount of connections that we make, it's about increasing the quality of the connections that we have. Does this person make you feel seen and understood? Are they available to you? Because without these qualities in a connection, those connections are gonna make you feel lonelier than ever. It's like that Robin Williams quote that goes, "I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up all alone." It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel all alone. And it's true, the moments that I have felt the most lonely in my life have been when I've been around people that I feel unseen and misunderstood around. And I would much rather be lonely alone than lonely in the company of the wrong people. And actually that's been one of the best advantages of this time. Now that we're not seeing people in person as much, we've been given the perfect opportunity to evaluate our relationships and think which ones add value to my life, which ones might have been draining us, which ones might have, English. What am I trying to say? Which ones have we only been trying to hang on? What? Okay. Which ones have we only been hanging on to? Which ones have we... Which relationship... Which ones have we been hanging on to maybe for the wrong reasons? And it's been really easy in this time to boil down our circles to just the most important people that make us feel accepted and supported. And finally, to deal with loneliness in lockdown, I have built a stronger connection with myself. The most important connection in my life. And you know, this is the antidote to loneliness that most people don't talk about. Usually when we think about loneliness, we think it has to do with other people. And yes, loneliness does have to do with feeling disconnected from other people, but a lot of feeling lonely has to do with feeling disconnected from ourselves. We don't know who we are, what we like, what we value, what brings us joy, what we want in our relationships with other people. And when we don't know these things about ourselves, oftentimes we can find ourselves in situations that don't make us feel good and that make us feel even more disconnected and lonely. And that means that feeling disconnected from other people largely stems from feeling disconnected from ourselves to begin with. But we have a tendency to think that the solution to our problem is out there. We're looking for external answers. We're looking for a partner to complete us. We're looking for attention and validation from other people to make us feel better about ourselves. But really, beating loneliness isn't about any of that. Beating loneliness is about getting to know ourselves better and getting to know our own needs better so that we can meet our own needs and give ourselves attention and validation. The answers are not out there, they're in here. And if you're wondering, but what if I don't know what my needs are? How do I get to know myself? Well, my friend, the answer is self-exploration. And self-exploration isn't something that just happens overnight or ever really. It's a lifelong process, but it is a necessary one if we ever want to feel connected. And the best way to do some self-exploration is to ask yourself questions like, what do I truly value? What kind of a life do I want to live? What brings me joy? What do I want most out of life? And when you're asking yourself these questions, please be patient with yourself and know that sometimes by asking these questions, it does get lonely because you're asking questions that most people are too afraid to look for answers for. But it is so worth it because as a result, you will thoroughly enjoy your own company. And the more you enjoy your own company, the more others will too. And we can't have a great connection with other people until we have a great connection with ourselves. And we can't have a great connection with ourselves unless we spend time with ourselves. And we have more time for that now than ever, so might as well take advantage advantage of it. Read all the books you want to read, learn those skills you want to learn, and not only is that going to allow you to enjoy your company more, but it's going to give you a character and help you form an opinion so that when we are then able to go out and interact with people again, we'll have more interesting things to talk about and be able to form stronger connections. Oh, all right, so those are the ways that I have been dealing with loneliness in lockdown. If there's anything you can take away from my experience, I hope it's that the antidote to loneliness is connection, but not just any connection. It has to be meaningful connection, and not only with other people, but also with yourself. And also, I don't have this all figured out. I still get lonely from time to time, and this isn't me prescribing anything. This is me sharing my experience in the hopes that you might find some value in it, and if not, maybe by knowing that another person feels lonely too, that might make you feel a little better. Loneliness is a universal feeling. To be a human is to feel lonely sometimes. It's the price we pay for being alive. And if you are feeling lonely, it doesn't mean that something has gone wrong. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It simply means that you are a human being and you are not alone in feeling lonely, and it can't and won't last forever. Let's chat in the comments about what we've all been doing to deal with loneliness in lockdown, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, stay healthy and stay safe. Bye.